We have lots and lots of people watching live stream what's going on here. So our reach is far and wide, and we've been at it 12 years now, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. And I want to ask you a question. Why are we standing right in front of the U.S. Capitol building? Great question, right? Yeah. We're relentless in our pursuit of the truth about the destruction of all 3 World Trade Center skyscrapers on 9/11, and justice on behalf of the 9/11 family members.
Let me just say right off the bat that I represent no organization, no political party, nothing. I'm a member of nothing. I don't belong to a party. I hate politics. I'm a political atheist. I don't, if it, you know the old line about if it has me as a member, I don't want to be a part of it. So I speak to you as an individual about to tell you what I've been saying for 17 years. The same speech, the same questions. And I must tell you what happened. 17 years ago today in New York, it was the most beautiful blue day you've ever seen. The sky was bluer than I've ever seen it before or since. No haze, no spraying, whatever, geoengineering, whatever the heck is out there. It was perfect. And at the same time, it was the worst day ever. I'm not going to tell you what other family members, I'm not going to try to compete with my own horror. I wouldn't deign to try to even compete or say that I understand the horror that you went through. But it was surreal. And it changed my life from that moment. I couldn't believe what was happening. I thought everybody thought like I did. Foolish me. Well, let me tell you what happened. I was doing a talk radio show, one particular form or another, and I'm standing there, and somebody said to me, this is the actual moment. Somebody said, what do you think about, we're talking about Flight 93 or Shanksville. Now, I didn't know the moving parts. There's a lot of moving parts to 9/11. North Tower, South Tower, Building 7, the Pentagon, Shanksville, Iraq. People today still, firemen recently, just this past week, men contracting breast cancer because they were down there. So there's all these little aspects of it. The readiness, and so you pick the particular area because there is no one 9/11 story. Which one do you want? Which horror do you want? So anyway, somebody said, what about Shanksville, Flight 93? I said, what are you talking about? So I did like most people do. I'm Googling pictures or whatever, and I'm looking because I'm looking for this event. It was still fresh in my mind. I didn't realize where these things were and what had happened. I didn't recognize the evidence that was collected at the time. I wasn't even aware of this. So I looked, and I saw, and I'm looking for a plane crash because they kept saying, there was a plane crash. I knew that. Let's roll, Todd Beamer. I heard about this. I'm not an expert in plane crashes. I'm not an expert in pregnancy either, but I can tell one when I see one. I don't know death. I'm not a forensic pathologist. I can tell when dead people. I know a lot of things just from having lived. I think I know. I've seen pictures of accidents. So I'm looking through this Google Images, and I said, where's the plane? Just like that. Stupid me. No idea where I was heading. The rabbit hole. Stupid me. Maybe I've got the wrong, I don't know where this is. I don't see anything. I see this dimpled area. I see some steam. I see this pockmark there. I don't know. Where is this plane? Where's the plane? The wheels and the wings and 6-ton titanium engines and the luggage carts and the people and the wires and the stabilizers and the... Nothing. Somebody called up, and this was that moment. This was the moment. I was asked, what are you getting at? I said, what? What are you getting at? What are you suggesting? What do you mean, what am I suggesting? How are you talking about? Where's the plane? There you go again. What do you mean? There I go again. Am I missing something? Have I got the... Are you part of a conspiracy theory? Now, I'm a trial, I'm a criminal trial. I'm thinking conspiracy. No. Conspiracy is a confederation between 2 or more guilty people regarding something furtive, something criminal. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't understand the weaponization of the word yet. And I said, I'm just asking a very simple question. Where is this? Well, we were off to the races. And from then on, people said, this guy's a conspiracy theorist. I said, what are you talking about? What's a conspiracy? I'm asking a question. And I thought, am I the only one here? 17 years ago. And we're still asking. I'm asking. They're not asking. Because this august body, look at what they are investigating. Look at what they have investigating. If it's sex-related, if it's regarding certain presidents, no holds barred. No investigation too costly. But in the worst example of domestic violence or terrorism in this country's history, no time for that. We're busy. Next, this is the official story. Move on, little doggy. Stop asking questions. Move on. Now, you know, Tolstoy said, history would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. And a lot of things would be a wonderful thing if only it were true. And Napoleon, by the way, said that history is a myth that men agree to believe. So we tend to believe these anecdotal things. We just say these things. We just say things over and over again. And I have been asking for the longest time, could we please keep talking about this? And I was told, no. You can't. Well, I say, yes, I can. And we can. And you can ask any question you want about anything. Anything. Anything you want. This is America. I have to remind everybody that this is supposed to mean something. Well, everybody fought for my freedom and fought for my reason that I can say whatever I want. Well, I'm going to say this. Oh, you can't say that one. And now they're trying to weaponize this term. They're trying to weaponize this term to the point where they want you to just don't say anything. And somebody somewhere decides what it is that you're saying. And you all know the story, right? About the CIA memorandum. I know the CIA. So get your tin foil hats up. By the way, it's not tin. It's aluminum. We haven't worn tin in years. What are they talking about? Aluminum. But the word was weaponized in order to address the Warren Commission, this fiction. And it was this idea of weaponizing these terms. Now, somebody then came up and said, are you a truther? This is how naive I was. I said, well, I would certainly hope so. This is a pejorative. I'm a factor. I'm a proofer. I want facts. I'm a lawyer. Before I get to who did it, I got to get to what it was they did. It's a simple question. When I was a homicide prosecutor, we had 4 types of death. And the acronym was NASH. Natural, accidental, suicide, homicide. When you walk in and you said, well, this poor woman is, look, God, she's handcuffed, shot 12 times in the back of the head. You know, I'm sorry, but as an example, and I don't think this is natural. I think this is probably homicide. And if somebody said, who did it? Why would they want her dead? What motive? I said, I don't even know how this happened. All I'm saying is that we need more of an investigation. And that's all we're asking. I am a factor. And everybody wants to know why and who are the people. And with every great question, there are many people who have their own particular agenda, which is fine. Some people are very, very good in critical thinking, being able to lay out in a linear pattern the questions, the issues, the rules, the analysis, concluding. Others will jump in with their own particular agenda. And that's the way it is. You get that with a lot of people. But I am a factor. You know, Gore Vidal said, I love what he said. He said, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst. And we're analyzing something because by virtue of the entire rendition of the facts that were presented to us, this was a conspiracy of terrorists or bad people, obviously. So we start off with the idea that this was a conspiracy. The question I want to know is, I want to keep going with this forever. I want to go until we are exhausted. I want to keep asking questions until every single question, nuance, has been addressed and has been exhausted regarding this and anything for that matter. Vidal also said that one of these days it will be an article of faith that you cannot believe in something that is considered a conspiracy theory. That conspiracy theory will be replaced for the unspeakable truth. And I hope we never get to that. I'm telling you right now that this is the most critical thing, and I just want to be a part of any group, any place, whoever it is, who at least is together. I'm going to leave you with one thing. I've done so many radio shows in 17 years, and I thought by now people were going to be asking and understanding the issue of what happened. There's a lot of moving parts to this. And yet again, even as early as this morning, I'm talking to people that said, oh yeah? Well, who do you think did? I said, it's the what part first. We'll all get to this. But don't be embarrassed. Don't dare to ask any question you want. That's all I'm here to do. And I'm going to go on any platform, any program, anybody on a corner who at least says it's okay to ask. And let me leave you with this. If you think that this is some esoteric subject that only this group of people are considered, if you think that the majority of people in this country are completely satisfied with all of the explanations, if you think that in New York, where I'm from, that the police and the firemen, the first responders, and those in the know, and those who were downtown, and those who knew people, if you think that they are completely satisfied with the official story that was presented, you've got another thing coming. So thank you for being here. Thank you for questioning, and never, ever ask for permission. It's your right as an American, period. Thank you.
All right, Lionel.
Thanks, Tim. 17 years ago today, my brother Jeff was murdered. And as Richard said, he was on the 106th floor of the North Tower. He was attending the Risk Waters conference. There was once 3 Campbell brothers, and now there's only 2. And I miss him. We all do. This year, I am pleased to be a signatory of the Grand Jury petition and the Bobby McIlvaine Act. Whenever the authorities are involved in murder and its subsequent cover-up, it's only through the determination and perseverance of family members and individuals that truth and justice can have any chance of prevailing, even when the chances of succeeding appear so slim. I'd like to give you an example of what inspires me. Over 46 years ago, in Northern Ireland, 28 civilians who were on a protest march were shot by the British Army. 14 people died, 6 of whom were only 17. The youngest injured was only 15. That day in Derry, Northern Ireland, in 1972, became known as Bloody Sunday. A few months ago, I had a long chat with one of the victim family members of Bloody Sunday. Her name is Julianne Campbell, no relation. She lost her uncle, Jackie Duddy. She was also the press officer for the Bloody Sunday Justice Campaign. And she wrote this book called Setting the Truth Free, the inside story of the Bloody Sunday Justice Campaign. And I'd like to take this opportunity to mention some of the parallels, because I think they're interesting between 9/11 and Bloody Sunday, some of which I've personally experienced myself. For example, how the media, politicians, successive governments close rank when challenged about official narratives, and how they basically choose to ignore you. Bloody Sunday had the Widgery Tribunal, which was an inquiry led by the Lord Chief Justice Widgery. And this is the highest, at the time it's the highest legal authority individual in the country. The report he produced largely cleared the soldiers and British authorities, and instead blamed the march organisers, and claimed that all the victims were either gunmen or bomb throwers. Not a single eyewitness testimony was considered other than that of soldiers. The cover-up began hours after the shootings, beginning with the captain of the regiment compiling a shot list, which was a fraudulent list identifying the victims as either gunmen or nail bombers. The very next day, the Prime Minister, Ted Heath, met with the Lord Chief Justice and reminded him that as well as a military war going on in Northern Ireland, there was a propaganda war going on, and that he should do his duty. Even when the report was being drafted, someone wrote by hand on a copy that the Lord Chief Justice will pile up the forensic evidence against the deceased. Now remember, this is supposed to be an independent and fair inquiry. So when the Widgery report was published and all the victims were labelled as terrorists, Bloody Sunday became a catalyst for a massive increase in the troubles both in the UK and in mainland UK and Northern Ireland. We're 17 years on now. I take inspiration and hope that for the Bloody Sunday victims, the families didn't really get together in terms of campaigning for truth and justice until 20 years after the event. And they campaigned for a new inquiry, the quashing of the widely discredited Widgery report, and to give the victims their innocence back because they were labelled as terrorists. On the 20th anniversary, a book was published, so this is in 1992, a book was published by a journalist, an activist, and now Irish politician called Eamon McCann. And this, along with the effort of many individuals and campaigns, resulted in Tony Blair, the then Prime Minister, in 1998 announcing a new inquiry. An inquiry that actually led to the former Prime Minister Ted Heath taking the witness stand and being examined, and also the captain who compiled that fraudulent shot list, who at the time of the new inquiry was head of the British Army. 12 years later, seems an awful long time, it's nearly 4 decades on, in 2010, the original inquiry was quashed and the victims exonerated. The report's findings were made public, and that the actions of the British Army were ruled unjustifiable and unjustified. And only after the publication were the police, I mean, get this, only after the publication, 40 years on, were the police allowed to investigate the crimes for the very first time. The prosecution services is, as we speak, 46 years on, assessing what legal criminal action can be taken. And as Ted Walter said to Julianne in a recent visit to the Bloody Sunday Museum in Derry, the 9/11 Commission report is our Widgery. And I'd just like to finish off with just reading, it's almost the last page. It's Eamon McCann, the activist, the journalist, the politician, the Irish politician, reflecting on the campaign. Nothing mattered as far as the families were concerned, as long as they won their loved ones' innocence. In the process, however, they have become emblematic of the need for people to persist in campaigning for truth and justice. In the end, that might be the legacy of the Bloody Sunday Justice campaign. The extent to which it enables people elsewhere faced with impossible odds to look at the Bloody Sunday campaign and say of their own campaign, let's keep on. This might just fucking work. So let's keep on. Thank you.
Just like the FDA, when Merck wants a bill that favors them, they write it and they give it to the FDA. There are people in the FDA, and on through every industry. Well, we're becoming an industry too. The 9/11 Truth Movement is growing worldwide by millions. And they're a more silent bunch. But we're here today, now, to fan out in 6 groups into the Senate office buildings surrounding the Capitol. And we're going to get organized. We're going to do that right now. and we're going to head on out.
Down one more. So I've been giving out the Bobby McElvain Act information here in the House of Representatives, the Longworth building, for an investigation with subpoena power.